of Thought by Henry Thomas Hamlin. Introduction. You are the architect of your own life. It is yours to make or to unmake. By the power of thought, you are building and constructing your entire existence. The power is in your hands. It has always been in your hands. The power of thought, as Emerson says, is a spiritual power. It is the greatest power that man has at his disposal. The world today is in its present state simply as a result of mankind's collective thinking. Each nation is in its present state of either peace and prosperity, or poverty, murder, and anarchy, simply as a result of its thinking as a nation, and each individual is what he is simply as a result of his thoughts. You tend to become what you think about. You always move in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. What a man thinks, he becomes. What a man thinks is the mainspring of all his actions. What a man thinks attracts to him his circumstances and environment. What a man thinks determines what type of friends and companions will gather around him. What a man thinks decides whether he should be happy or miserable, successful or unsuccessful, healthy or unhealthy, prosperous or poverty-stricken, hated or loved. What a man thinks either builds up his character or pulls it down. What a man thinks can overcome fate or strengthen it, can bring him into alignment with his glorious destiny, or make him an outcast and a wanderer in desert places. Indeed, there is no limit to the power of thought, because it is a spiritual power of intense potency. It is the power which distinguishes man from the brute. It is the power by which he can mount up to God. It is the power which can make the unsuccessful successful in the battle of life. It is the power which can make the loftiest achievement possible. It is the power by which difficulties can be overcome, disadvantages of birth and parentage surmounted, and the life beautified and inspired and energized with God-given powers. By thought, man either blesses or curses himself. By it, he brings into his life either success or failure, health or disease, happiness or unhappiness, poverty or prosperity. It is all in his mind and the character of his thought. Whatever there is in your life or mine, of disharmony, lack, sickness, or unhappiness, is the result of our disharmonious thought. We live in an orderly universe, but we do not react harmoniously to our environment. We are not in correspondence with the hidden law and order around us. It is not necessary for the universe to be altered. What is needed is that we ourselves should be changed. Within ourselves is the cause of the disorder in our own individual world. For we each live in a little world of our own creation. Therefore, the disorder and trouble that afflicts us, or the lack that restricts our life, can never be overcome, save by a change of mind, habit of thought and mental attitude. In the following pages, an attempt is made to show how the reader can, by changing his thoughts and mental attitude, reverse the lever and come into harmony with the divine idea. When this is accomplished, his life will blossom like the rose. He shall be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills shall break before him into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. Chapter 1. Thought, the cause of action. There is the conscious mind and there is the subconscious mind. The conscious mind gathers knowledge and experience through the senses. It learns from books, conversation, and experience. It reasons and forms conclusions. Finally, its thoughts pass down into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the mind of action. It is responsible for all that we do. It is the seat of memory and of instinct. It is a reservoir of tremendous power. It is of extraordinary intelligence. It carries out all the complicated processes within the body which make life possible. The wisest and most learned of men cannot begin to fathom its wonderful powers. But in spite of this, we know enough about its manner of working to enable us to control it. And by controlling it, we control our actions. And by controlling our actions, we shape our life and overcome what is called fate. It is impossible to think evil thoughts and bring forth good actions. Many have tried it. They have said, I will be outwardly respectable and blameless in life, but in secret I will think this thought. I will hug it to my bosom because it is pleasant, but I will let it go no further because I know that evil action leads to shipwreck and disaster. Therefore I will deceive even my best friends. Outwardly I will be all that I ought to be, But in my thoughts I will be evil. Mine will be a double life. To outsiders I shall be one thing, and in my thought world something different. Thus I shall be able to enjoy evil in thought and escape its penalties. Such a one does not reckon with the power and faithfulness of the subconscious mind. Every evil thought which is entertained and gloated over acts as a powerful suggestion to this patient giant, until at last it can stand it no longer and bursts out into the life in the form of a course of evil action, which is an exact replica of the thoughts which have been entertained. This explains why so often people who have always been so exemplary in their conduct all at once go wrong and come crashing down to ruin. They are simply reaping the harvest of their thoughts. While this is true of the majority of those who indulge in secret evil thinking, there are yet those who, either through lack of courage or opportunity, do not or cannot break out into a course of evil action. By their evil thoughts, they arouse certain emotions which cannot be satisfied and which therefore have to be repressed. The effect of repression is either chronic ill health, for which no medical skill can ever cure, or organic disease that is beyond the art of man to heal. The reader must not imagine, however, that everyone who suffers in this way has been guilty of evil thinking, but the practice is certainly one of the ways by which some people can, and do, literally destroy themselves. Thus a man who gives way to hate and broods over his wrongs will be led to think of murder, and if he gloats upon thoughts of murder, a time will come when he may attempt murder. On the other hand, if the same man will keep his mind off his wrongs and think thoughts of forgiveness, or better still, if he will love or hold in thoughts of goodwill the one who has wronged him, then his life will become happy and peaceful, and in its highest sense, successful. Again, a man who gives way to weak, fearful thoughts, who fears that his business will fail, who fears that his luck may give out, who fears that competition will arise with which he will be unable to cope, such a man will probably fail because all his actions will be weak and hesitating, and lacking in that strength of decision which are necessary for the achievement of success. On the other hand, if he will banish every weak negative thought, every thought of possible failure, and constantly brace his mind by affirmations of success, in other words, send down strong suggestions of success to his subconscious mind, such a man will succeed in life because his actions will be strong and decisive. When faced by great difficulty, he will find that his subconscious mind will supply him with wonderful energy and staying power, great courage and determination, simply because it has been trained by right thinking to do so. It would be possible to fill a book with illustrations of the operation of this law, but in a little work of this kind, these two must suffice. These two must suffice. The law is immutable. It cannot be tricked or evaded. Whatever we think becomes sooner or later translated into action, and as upon our actions our life depends, it will be seen that it is possible by thought, control to govern our life. For by controlling our thoughts, we govern our actions. By governing our actions, we mold our life and circumstances, thus shaping our fate. Life is not a matter of chance or luck. It is not something out of our control. It is largely the result or effect of our thoughts. Therefore, by controlling our thoughts, and this, thank God, can be done, we can govern and direct our life to an almost unbelievable extent. As conscious thinking beings created, the Bible says, in God's likeness and image, or in other words, a microcosm of the macrocosm, we possess one of the greatest powers in the universe, and this power is thought. It depends upon how we use this wonderful power what our life shall be. The engine driver sends his engine either backward or forward, but it is the same power that is used in each case. In the same way, thinking man can either build up or destroy himself by the use or misuse of the potent power of thought. It depends upon how he uses this power, either for good or ill, as to whether his life shall be successful, healthy, happy, or harmonious, or lacking in definite achievement, true success and happiness. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Chapter 2. Victims of Ignorance. We do not believe that there are many who deliberately think negative thoughts. Most people mean well and want to do good and be good. But nevertheless, most of us are wrong thinkers, more or less, and this is due, so we firmly believe, mainly to ignorance. Because it is not generally known that negative thoughts are highly destructive, we ignorantly indulge in them, thinking that they do no harm. Actually, thoughts of impurity, anger, revenge, hate, resentment, envy, brooding over wrongs, brooding over sorrows, losses and griefs, thoughts of fear, failure, weakness, penury, sickness, disease, decay, mortality and death are all highly destructive. They are destructive of health, of happiness, of circumstances, of life in all its departments. They break down the nervous system. They paralyze endeavor. They undermine the will. They make for wrong decisions. It will be admitted that this is a matter of prime importance, yet neither children nor the general public are instructed in these vital matters. Because of this almost universal ignorance, we most of us go on indulging in negative thinking, much to our detriment. How many of us, for instance, realize that it is thought that kills and not lack of food in most cases of death through alleged starvation? If a person cannot get food to eat, he dies in a very few days as a rule. Yet a person who fasts voluntarily in order to cure himself of some organic disease can do so, if the fast is wisely undertaken, for 40 or even more days.